A paranormal romance audiobook. Run, Thea, now. Stop dragging me. Tell me what is happening. If you speak louder, they will hear your heartbeat. Who are they? Not who. What? Rain hammered the alley, turning streetlights into trembling halos. Thea's mother pulled her through puddles and broken bottles, nails digging into Thea's wrist like anchors. Behind them came the sound that did not belong in a city, a wet growl, then claws scraping brick, then a breath that smelled like smoke and old blood. Mom, the sirens are coming. Sirens do not hunt, keep moving. Thea dared one glance back. At the mouth of the alley, shadows moved like living cloth, folding around tall armored shapes. A gleam flashed, not metal, but eyes. Thea's stomach turned. They burst through a heavy door into the old city library. Dust and paper hit Thea's lungs. She nearly cried with relief because libraries were safe, because books had rules. Then the door shuddered as something slammed into it from the outside. Once. Twice. The third hit made the hinges scream. "We are trapped," Thea whispered. "No," her mother said, voice breaking. "You are not." She dragged Thea between tall shelves to a blank stretch of wall, plaster scarred as if someone had scraped it with fingernails. Her mother pressed her palm flat. Violet light seeped out from the stone, widening into a doorway of swirling purple. The air turned cold and electric, and Thea's hair lifted on her arms. Thea stumbled back. "You cannot do that." A crash. The library door splintered. Shapes stepped through the ruin, tall and armored, eyes shining like coins. One lifted its head and sniffed. "Human," it rasped, as if the word was a flavor. Thea's mother grabbed Thea by the shoulders. Her eyes were wet, furious, terrified. "You go through," she said. "No, we go together." Her mother shook her head once hard, as if crushing her own heart. "I cannot." "Why?" "Because I already made the bargain." Thea's throat closed. "Bargain with monsters." Her mother pulled Thea close, breath fast, lips almost touching Thea's temple. "I am sorry," she whispered. "Forgive me. Live." Thea tried to pull away, to grab her mother, to fight the hands reaching from the broken doorway. Her mother did not let her. She shoved Thea into the violet doorway with a strength that felt desperate. Cold swallowed her whole. The air tasted like moonlight and ashes. The portal snapped shut behind her like a jaw. Thea slammed onto stone, pain flaring through her ribs. She lifted her head, expecting books, but saw a vast Gothic hall of black arches and towering windows. Outside hung a violet moon so huge it felt like it could crush the world by blinking. The sky beyond was not sky. It was a permanent dusk, bruised purple, with distant lightning that never reached the ground. Footsteps approached. 3 guards in black armor circled her. Their eyes glowed pale. One inhaled, smiling. "Fresh," it said. "Food." "Back away," Thea spat, though her voice shook. A new presence cooled the air. The guards stepped aside with sudden obedience. A man walked out of shadow, tall, precise, coat dark as ink. His face was handsome in the way statues are handsome, beautiful, and merciless. "Enough," he said. "Fear is valuable. Do not waste it." Thea forced herself to stand. Her knees trembled, but she would not kneel. "Where am I?" The man's eyes fixed on her like a lock clicking shut. "Shadowfall Academy," he said. "I am Headmaster Thorne. I do not belong here." Thorne smiled slightly. "No one belongs, they are kept." Thea turned and ran for the iron doors at the far end of the hall. She shoved them. A barrier flared, invisible until it struck her. Thea flew backward and hit the floor, breath knocked out. Thorne crouched beside her as if watching an insect learn glass. "There is no exit," he said. Thea's voice cracked. "My mother will come back." "Your mother is free," Thorne replied, "because she paid her debt." Thea stared. "Debt?" Thorne held out a folded, uniform, black fabric that smelled faintly of smoke. "Put it on. You are enrolled." Thea shoved it away. "I am not staying." Thorne's tone stayed calm, and that calm felt like a threat. "Your mother sold you to us," he said, "in payment, in exchange for her life." Thea's vision blurred with rage. "That is a lie." "Is it?" Thorne murmured. "You will learn what she is. Later." The guards escorted Thea through corridors lined with portraits whose eyes tracked her. Candles burned with black flame. The stone itself seemed alive, breathing in small shudders whenever Thea's fear spiked, as if the academy tasted her. When Thea finally changed into the uniform, it felt wrong, not just because it was black, but because it was cold against her skin in a way cloth should not be. For a moment, she thought she felt something drain out of her, a thin thread of warmth, as if the fabric wanted her to be quieter, duller, easier to hold. Students watched from doorways and stairwells. Some smiled too slowly. Some leaned in and inhaled as she passed. A boy with red eyes whispered something to his friend and both laughed. "Fresh blood," someone murmured. "Do not say blood," someone else corrected, amused. "We drink feelings." Thea kept her face blank. If they wanted fear, they could choke on her silence. In the dorm tower, the air smelled of damp stone and old perfume. Thea passed a window and saw the academy grounds below, black gardens and sharp hedges and a forest line like teeth. Somewhere in the distance, wolves howled, and the sound felt like it belonged to the moon. Her dorm room was a pocket of Victorian gloom, heavy drapes, cold fireplace, bed carved like a coffin. A girl sat on the floor beside a pot that held a plant with a flower shaped like a mouth. Teeth ringed the petals. Thea froze. "What is that?" The girl looked up. "Hungry," she said. "Ivy." She dropped something into the pot. It looked like a finger. The plant chewed, wet and satisfied. Thea swallowed bile. "That is a finger." "Artificial," Ivy said with a shrug. "Mostly, do not worry, it prefers liars." "Great," Thea muttered, "so it will love me." Ivy's smile widened. "Welcome." Thea set her bag down carefully. "I need to go home." Ivy patted the floor beside her. "Sit, you will try to run. Better to know the rules before you bleed all over them." Thea finally sat, mostly because her legs were about to give out. "Rules." Ivy's eyes were bright and unreadable. "Rule 1. Here, vampires usually do not drink blood, they drink emotions. Fear, shame, desire, the academy itself eats what the students spill. So do not show fear, Thea, it will make you weak." Thea's hands clenched. "So what, I just act brave until I die?" "No," Ivy said. "You act empty until you learn to be dangerous." "And if I cannot?" Thea asked, voice thin. "Then someone will drink you dry," Ivy replied, too casual. "Or you will explode and become their favorite story." Thea looked at the plant. "Does it bite everyone?" "Only if I ask," Ivy said, and her voice turned softer, almost kind. "And only if they deserve it." Thea stared at her hands, still shaking. "My mother did not sell me." Ivy leaned closer. "People always sell something. Sometimes they call it love." Thea swallowed hard. "How do I leave?" Ivy's expression sharpened. "There is a transition relic, a small device that can cut a doorway between realms. It is rare, expensive. It is the reason some students come here willingly. They think they can steal one and buy freedom. And can they? Thea asked. Ivy's smile was a little sad. Not yet. Sleep came in fragments. In every fragment, her mother's voice whispered, "Forgive me," and in the silence after, something laughed. Thea woke with her heart racing and the feeling that the room had been listening. The next shift of time that passed for morning, Ivy walked with Thea to class. "Shoulders back," Ivy whispered. "Lie with your body if you cannot lie with your face." Thea tried. It felt like wearing armor made of breath. The first lesson was history of magical wars, taught by a ghost that looked bored with existence. Thea stepped into the room and every student turned to stare, like a pack noticing a limp. A girl in the front row rose. She was flawless, hair like liquid night, lips red as a wound, eyes sharp with ownership. "So that is the new pet," she said, "from the human world." Thea kept walking. The girl glided closer and tipped a bottle of shimmering ink onto Thea's uniform. The liquid hissed, burning through fabric and biting skin. Laughter rippled through the class, eager and cruel. "Trash does not sit with us," the girl announced. "Learn your place." The ghost teacher did not even blink. "Survival is the only lesson," it said. Thea's throat burned with the urge to scream, but she swallowed it. She walked out before tears could spill where they could taste them. In the corridor, she slammed into someone solid, then steady hands caught her. "Easy," a boy said. He was bright in the dark, hair pale gold, eyes clear blue, a soft glow clinging to him like starlight. "Who are you?" Thea demanded. "Adrian," he said. "You are Thea." "Everyone knows," Thea muttered. "Even the bullies." Adrian touched the burned fabric lightly and murmured a spell. Light washed over her uniform, repairing it, cooling the sting on her skin. Thea stared, breath stuck. "Why help me?" she asked. Adrian's mouth curved. "Because you are bleeding emotion into the halls. You do not know it yet, but you are loud." "I am trying not to be," Thea said through clenched teeth. "Trying is not the same as doing," Adrian replied. His gaze sharpened, then softened again. "And because Seraphina is jealous." Thea frowned. "Jealous of what? I have nothing." Adrian leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Your aura, it is not human. When you walked into class, half the room went hungry and the other half went protective. That does not happen for ordinary people." Thea stepped back. "I am human." Adrian looked at her as if he wanted to believe her and as if he could not. "Be careful," he said. "Shadowfall is not kind to rare things." He hesitated, then brushed a loose strand of hair from Thea's cheek, a touch so gentle it made her flinch harder than violence. "If you need help," he said, "find me. Not everyone here wants you broken." That promise made Thea's chest ache because it sounded like sunlight, and sunlight did not exist here. That night Thea tried to run. She slipped through corridors until she found the main gates, iron and rune carved, beyond them a dark forest that smelled like freedom and teeth. Two guards stood watch, shaped like wolves on hind legs, eyes glowing amber. Thea climbed the wall anyway. Her fingers scraped stone. Her breath came fast. She was almost over when a hand seized her ankle and yanked. Thea fell into dead shrubs, pain shooting through her shoulder. "Leaving already?" a voice drawled from the shadows. "How romantic." A boy sat on the wall like he owned the night. Black hair with a silver streak. eyes deep red like old wine. Smoke curled from whatever he held, forming brief skull shapes before fading. "Who are you?" Thea hissed. "Draven," he said, smiling like trouble. "And you are bait. Do not call me that." "Then stop dangling yourself in front of wolves," Draven replied. "You cannot leave. The barrier will tear you open before the guards do." Thea stood, brushing dirt off. "I will find a way." Draven stepped close, too close, and shoved her back against the wall. The stone was icy. His body was warm. His eyes held mockery and hunger and something sharper. "Do you know what happens to humans here?" he murmured. "They drain you until you stop reacting. Then you are just a shell with a pulse." Thea forced herself not to flinch. "I am not food." Draven inhaled slowly, and his expression changed, a flicker of real surprise. "You do not smell human," he said. Thea's blood went cold. "What?" His lips hovered near her neck, not biting, only breathing her in. The touch of his breath raised goosebumps along her skin. "Ancient dust," he whispered. "Old power buried under skin." Footsteps sounded near the gates. Draven cursed softly, pressed a hand over Thea's mouth, and pulled her into deeper shadow. His palm was firm. Thea's pulse raced against it. For a second, she was trapped between danger outside and danger holding her. The guards passed without seeing. Draven released her and shoved her lightly as if he needed the cruelty to hide the moment. "Go back to your room," he said, "before I get bored and trade you." "Why did you hide me?" Thea snapped. Draven's smile flashed. "Because you are mine to insult, not theirs." Thea hated that her stomach flipped. She turned and left before her face could betray her. Back in the dorm, Ivy sat by the window as if she had not moved all night. "There must be a way out," Thea whispered. Ivy nodded. "There is, but not through the gate. The gate is for bodies, the relic is for souls." Thea swallowed. "Then I need the relic." "Thorne keeps the keys to it," Ivy said, "and Thorne does not lose keys." Thea clenched her jaw. "Then I steal." Ivy's gaze turned thoughtful. "If you steal from him, he will not punish you like a teacher. He will punish you like an owner." Thea looked away. "Then I will learn to bite." Combat magic came the next day, held in a hall lined with mirrors. Students hurled fire and ice and black energy at each other while an instructor watched with lazy interest. Thea tried to hide at the back, but Seraphina's eyes found her like a blade. "New girl," Seraphina said sweetly. "Duel me." Thea's stomach dropped. "She is untrained," the instructor murmured, uninterested. "Then she will bleed faster," Seraphina replied. The duel began. Seraphina flicked her wrist and pain snapped across Thea's chest like a whip. Thea gasped, knees buckling. Laughter rose around them, rich with appetite. Seraphina sent another lash. Thea fell to her knees, breath ragged, humiliation burning hotter than the magic. In the mirrors, she saw herself from every angle, prey in a cage. Something inside her tore open. Thea screamed, raw and furious. Every mirror shattered at once. Glass exploded outward like a storm. Students shrieked and threw up shields. The instructor stumbled back, suddenly awake. For one heartbeat, Thea caught her reflection in a shard. Her eyes flashed silver, bright and inhuman. Then the color faded, leaving her dizzy and trembling. Silence swallowed the hall. Seraphina backed away, her perfect smile broken. "What are you?" she whispered. Thea did not know. The not knowing felt like a cliff under her feet. After class, Adrian found Thea in a side corridor where the stone was colder and the whispers quieter. His face was tense. "Your eyes," he said. "Who is your father?" Thea turned away. "I do not know." Adrian's voice softened. "There is a book of lineage. If we find your bloodline, someone might claim you, someone might get you out. Or someone might lock me deeper," Thea muttered. "That too," Adrian admitted. "But knowledge is leverage. Right now you have nothing, not even your own story." Thea swallowed. "Where is the book?" "Restricted section," Adrian said. "It opens only with a key and with the right kind of magic. I can get us close. I cannot get us in." Thea remembered Draven melting into shadow. "We need a thief." That evening, Thea found Draven in the lower levels where students gambled with bottled emotions. The air smelled sweet, like perfume overwrought. Laughter echoed as someone uncorked a vial and inhaled, shivering with pleasure. Draven looked up from a table of cards, amused. "Bait," he said. "Did the mirrors break because you looked at yourself too hard?" Thea stepped closer. "I need the restricted section. You can get us in." "Us," Draven echoed. "You and the golden boy." "Yes," Thea said. "And you." Draven's smile thinned. "Why would I help?" Thea swallowed, then spoke the rumor like a dagger. "Because you are cursed." The air around Draven darkened. His hand shot out and stopped close to Thea's throat without touching, a threat made polite. "Say that again and I remove your voice," he murmured. Thea held his gaze. "Help me. We search the book for your answer, too." Draven studied her, eyes flicking to her mouth, then back to her eyes. "You are brave," he said softly. "Or stupid." "Both," Thea said. "Pick one." Draven laughed under his breath as if she had entertained him. "If we survive," he said, "you owe me a kiss." Thea's cheeks heated. "That is not payment." "It is to me," Draven said, eyes bright. "Because you keep pretending you feel nothing. I want proof." Thea hated that her breath caught. She hated that she did feel something, a heat low in her body that made her want to step forward instead of back. "Deal," she said. In a quiet corridor outside the library wing, Thea stood between Adrian and Draven. The hatred between the boys had weight. "He cannot be trusted," Adrian said. Draven smiled. "And you can because you glow." "Because I protect her," Adrian snapped. Draven leaned toward Thea, voice low. "He wants you safe. I want you alive. Those are different." Thea lifted her chin. "I want answers. Both of you either help or get out of my way." Adrian exhaled and nodded. "The key to the restricted section is in Thorne's tower. Behind wards, we need cover." Draven's eyes gleamed. "A party." "The Blood Moon Ball," Adrian said. "Mandatory, everyone attends, even Thorne. The Academy gets drunk on emotion. Perfect for sneaking." Thea's stomach flipped. "I do not have anything to wear." "I do," Ivy said from the shadows behind them, as if she had been listening the whole time. Her smile was small and sharp. "And you will wear it." The ball night arrived like a closing fist. Ivy handed Thea a dress made of black rose buds layered like scales, alive in a faint, unsettling way. The petals brushed Thea's skin like a secret. "My plant stitched it," Ivy said. "Try not to bleed on it, it gets jealous." Thea changed, hands trembling. The dress clung like a second skin, framing her waist, baring her shoulders, making her feel exposed in a way that was not only physical. When she stepped out, Ivy stared for a long moment. "Now you look like trouble," Ivy said softly. "Good, let them underestimate your teeth." At the ballroom doors, Thea paused. She could already feel it, waves of emotion pressing through the cracks, desire sweet and sharp, jealousy bitter, fear hidden under perfume. It made her dizzy, like standing in a room full of open flames and trying not to burn. "Remember," Ivy whispered, fingers briefly gripping Thea's wrist. "Do not let them drink you. Make them drink each other." The ballroom was velvet dark, lit by crimson chandeliers that pulsed like hearts. Music curled through the air, a waltz that made people move closer than they meant to. Thea entered and felt the room look at her all at once. Hunger, curiosity, desire. Serafina stood near the center in red, smiling like she had sharpened it. "Of course," she murmured to her friends, loud enough for Thea to hear. "The human dresses like blood." Thea kept walking. Her spine stayed straight. Her heart did not. Adrian appeared at Thea's side and held out his hand. "Dance," he said. "If you stand alone, they will circle." Thea put her fingers in his. Warmth spread up her arm. They moved onto the floor and the dance lifted them, feet floating inches above the ground as if the music refused gravity. Thea's breath caught. "You look like you belong," Adrian murmured. "I will protect you." His hand steadied at her waist, firm but gentle, and Thea hated how safe it felt. Safety was a drug. "Made you careless." "Why are you really helping me?" Thea whispered. Adrian's eyes held hers. "Because when you came through that portal, the Academy changed," he said. "It is watching you, and I do not want it to own you." Thea opened her mouth to answer. Serafina drifted past with her friends like a crimson tide. As she passed, her heel hooked the hem of Thea's dress. A few rose buds crushed. The petals darkened, wilting as if they had been stabbed. Thea's breath hitched. Serafina smiled without turning. "Oops," she purred. Heat rose in Thea's chest, fast and violent. The chandeliers above flickered. For a second, the shadows along the walls stretched as if they leaned toward Serafina. Thea forced her hands to unclench. She could not lose control here, not in front of everyone. Then a hand closed around her wrist and yanked. Draven slid between her and Adrian like a blade. Black suit, silver streak, eyes burning. "My turn," he said. Adrian's voice turned cold. "Let go." "Take me," Draven replied. Draven pulled Thea into the dance. His hand gripped her waist, strong and possessive, and the closeness sent heat spiraling through Thea, the kind that made her feel powerful and exposed at the same time. His body moved with hers like a threat and a promise. "Do not fall for his glow," Draven murmured near her ear. "Gold is cold." "You do not get to choose for me," Thea whispered. Draven's lips brushed her neck, not a bite, a promise. She felt it all the way down her spine. He spoke so softly only she could hear. "Midnight, Thorne's tower, do not be late." Thea went still. "Midnight." Draven pulled back to meet her eyes, and for a heartbeat the mockery dropped, leaving something fierce, almost protective. "We take the key tonight," he said, "or you stay in this cage forever." Across the room, Serafina watched like she was memorizing where to strike. Adrian stood rigid, light dimmed by something darker than jealousy. Thea realized the ball was not a celebration. It was bait and perfume and teeth, and she was the center of it. She slipped away from Draven's grip, breath shaking, and fled to the balcony doors. Cool air hit her face. Below, the Academy gardens lay like black lace. Above, the violet moon stared. Somewhere in the Headmaster's tower, answers waited behind locks and lies, and the man who claimed her mother sold her probably expected her to be obedient, grateful, quiet. Thea pressed a hand to her chest and whispered, "If you want to use me, you will have to survive me." "Do not go up there alone," Adrian said, catching Thea's elbow as she stood on the balcony, trying to breathe past the ballroom-esque perfume and hunger. "You mean do not go anywhere without you," Thea said. "I mean they will use you," Adrian replied. "And you are too angry to notice the hands that look gentle." A shadow slid over the stone beside them. Draven's voice came like a blade dragged slow. "Midnight, bait, or you can marry the cage." Thea turned. Draven leaned against the balcony arch as if the cold belonged to him, eyes dark red in the moonlight, suit black enough to swallow the crimson chandeliers behind him. He did not bow. He did not smile. He looked at her like he was already counting her pulse. "I am not your bait," Thea whispered. Draven stepped closer, and the air tightened around him. Then stopped, smelling like a door. Adrian moved between them. "Touch her again and I break your hands." Draven's gaze flicked over Adrian's glowing calm. "Try, I will enjoy watching you fail politely." Thea felt the academy listening, as if the walls leaned closer when they spoke. It wanted her emotion. It wanted her choice. She pushed between them. "Enough," she said. "You both want something from me. I want answers. Midnight, Thorne's tower, we do this fast. Quiet. And then we go to the book." Adrian's jaw tightened. "You are trusting him." "I am trusting the plan," Thea answered, and hated how her voice shook. "And I am trusting that you will not let me die." Adrian's expression softened for a heartbeat, and that softness almost made her step into him. Almost. Draven brushed past her shoulder, mouth close to her ear, voice low. "Meet me at the service stairs. If you bring your golden pet, keep him leashed." Thea should have slapped him. Instead, she shivered, and not only from cold. She watched Draven melt into the crowd, and the ballroom swallowed him like darkness swallowing flame. Thea returned to the dance floor like an actress returning to her mark. She let Adrian take her hand again. She smiled when people watched. She laughed once at something she did not hear. She kept her fear behind her teeth. Seraphina glided close, eyes bright with cruelty. "You look pretty for something temporary," she said. Thea leaned in, smiling sweetly. "You look hungry. Does it hurt to watch me breathe?" Seraphina's smile sharpened. "At midnight, everyone bleeds for someone." Thea's stomach dropped. "What did you say?" Seraphina only laughed and drifted away like red silk over a grave. Thea kept dancing. She counted the minutes by the pulse in her throat, by the way the chandeliers beat like hearts, by the way the shadows along the walls seemed to stretch toward her whenever she felt too much. When the clock in the far tower moaned its first pre-midnight note, Thea slipped away. She moved through corridors that smelled of candle smoke and wet stone. The music faded behind her, replaced by the Academy's whispering hunger. The service stairs were narrow and cold, carved into a spine of stone that climbed into darkness. Draven waited 2 flights up, half in shadow, half in moonlight, as if he could not decide which world to belong to. Adrian stood beside him, tense and glowing faintly, like light forced into a cage. "You are late," Draven said. "It is not midnight," Thea replied. Draven looked her over slow, and Thea felt heat rise in her face. "You are shaking." "I am not," she lied. Draven's mouth twitched. "Good, keep lying, it tastes better." Adrian stepped forward. "One mistake and I drop you off this stairwell." Draven's eyes narrowed. "One mistake and I tell Thorne you came willingly." Thea inhaled and forced her body still. Stop! Draven, you open locks. Adrian, you watch for wards. I will do whatever is needed to keep us alive. We do not fight each other until we are out. Draven's gaze held hers. You give orders now. Thea held the stare. I am done being dragged. For a second, something like respect flickered in Draven's eyes, quick and dangerous. They climbed. Thorne's tower rose above the academy like a black needle. The door at its base was carved with runes that looked like they had been written in dried blood. Thea felt her skin prickle as they approached. Adrian lifted a hand, palm hovering near the runes without touching. Ward of recognition, he murmured. It reads intention, not identity. Draven scoffed. Then it is blind. Everyone intends something. Adrian's glow dimmed as he concentrated. It reads intention toward Thorne. Reverence enters. Defiance burns. Thea swallowed. So we walk in like we love him. Draven leaned in close, voice a whisper that brushed her cheek. Try thinking about how you want to spit in his mouth. Reverse it. Thea's face heated. You are disgusting. And you are alive, Draven replied. Thea closed her eyes for a heartbeat and forced her mind into a mask. She thought of obedience like a costume. She thought of smiling politely while holding a knife behind her back. Adrian nodded once. Now. Draven pressed his thumb to a thin line in the door's seam. He dragged a nail across skin. A bead of dark blood welled. He smeared it on the rune like signing a contract. The door opened with a sigh that sounded almost pleased. Inside, the air was colder, cleaner, sharper, like a room that refused warmth. The corridor spiraled upward. Portraits lined the walls, all of Headmaster Thorne in different years, in different shadows, always watching. Thea tried not to look into those eyes too long. Halfway up, the floor changed. The stone beneath their feet became glassy and dark. Heat shimmered under it. Draven stopped. Trap! A faint hum rose, like the tower clearing its throat. Thea's breath tightened. What kind? Adrian knelt and touched the glassy stone with 2 fingers. Frost bloomed under his hand, cracking a thin layer. Beneath it glowed orange, and Thea saw the slow movement of something molten. Lava ward, Adrian said quietly. It turns the floor into a river when it senses panic. Thea's stomach turned. So if I panic, we die. Draven glanced at her. Do not panic then. The hum deepened. The glassy stone rippled and a seam of heat opened, spreading like a mouth. Adrian rose and lifted both hands. I can build a bridge, but it will be narrow. Draven smirked. You mean you can make a pretty path and pray? Adrian shot him a glare. I mean walk carefully. Ice formed in front of them, a thin white bridge across the molten glow. It looked too fragile to hold a heartbeat. Thea stepped first. The ice was slick under her shoes, cold biting through the soles. Heat licked up from below like breath from a beast. Halfway across, the tower shuddered. The ice trembled. Thea's foot slipped. Her stomach dropped into her throat. A hand snapped around her waist and yanked her back against a hard chest. Draven's breath hit her ear. Easy, he murmured, voice low and rough. Do not fall. I am not done with you. Thea's hands gripped his sleeve. For a heartbeat, she forgot lava, forgot towers, forgot everything except his hand holding her like he had decided she mattered more than gravity. Adrian's voice cut through it tight. Move! They crossed, one slow step at a time. Thea forced her breathing steady, every inhale a command. When they reached solid stone again, Thea's knees nearly buckled with relief. Draven released her waist, but his fingers lingered a second too long, like a warning, like a claim. "You owe me nothing yet," Thea whispered, trying to anchor herself. Draven's mouth curved. "You are right, not yet." They climbed the final stairs and reached a heavy door with iron filigree shaped like thorns. Adrian pressed his ear to it. "Silence, ward," he said. "It will swallow sound. Good for us, bad if something screams." Draven looked pleased. "Then we do not scream." The door opened into Thorne's office. Thea had expected chaos. Instead, the room was terrifyingly calm. Dark wood, tall shelves. A desk polished like black water. Candles burning with steady black flame. A large window looking out over the academy grounds and the violet moon beyond. And the smell, faint but unmistakable, like old paper and something sharp beneath it. Fear. Thea took a step forward and felt the room press on her skin like invisible hands measuring her. "Find the key," she whispered. Draven moved like smoke, silent between shadows. Adrian stayed closer to Thea, his glow dimmed to a careful ember. Thea approached the desk, drawn by something she could not name. On the polished surface sat a silver-framed photograph. It should not have existed. It should have been impossible in this place. Thea lifted it. A younger Thorne stood beside a woman with familiar eyes and a familiar mouth. Thea's mother. They were smiling. Not polite smiling, not forced smiling. They looked happy. They looked like they belonged to each other. Thea's breath stopped. Her fingers tightened on the frame until it creaked. "No," she whispered. Adrian moved closer, eyes narrowing. "Thea, what is that?" Thea held the photo out with a shaking hand. Adrian's face went pale. "That is your mother." Draven appeared beside them, gaze sharp. He looked at the photo for 1 second, then his expression turned hard like he had just found the edge of a blade. "Thorne knows you," Draven said quietly. "Not as a student, as a plan." Thea's stomach twisted. Her mother's face in the photo was young, warm, alive, not the desperate woman in the rain. Thea felt a cold rage rise, so pure it made her dizzy. "If Thorne knew my mother," Thea whispered, "then he lied about everything." Adrian swallowed. "Or he told a truth that hurts in a different way." A soft clicking sound came from behind the desk. Draven crouched, fingers moving over a hidden compartment. "Found it." He lifted a key that looked too old to be metal. It seemed carved from bone, etched with runes that pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Thea reached for it and flinched when the key hummed against her skin, as if it recognized her. A siren screamed through the silence ward anyway, not in sound but in the bones. The tower shook. Adrian's eyes widened. "Alarm!" Draven cursed. "Of course, Thorne loves drama." The air turned heavy. The statues in the corners, grotesque gargoyles curled like sleeping animals, opened stone eyes. Then they moved. Stone wings snapped open. Claws scraped wood. One gargoyle lunged, mouth opening wider than stone should allow. Adrian threw up a shield of light. The gargoyle hit it and cracked it like glass. Draven blurred into mist, reappearing behind the gargoyle, slicing with shadow like a knife. Stone chipped. The gargoyle did not bleed. It only got angrier. Thea stood frozen for half a heartbeat, shock pinning her, then anger ripped her loose. She thrust her hands forward instinctively. Books flew off shelves like birds startled into flight. Heavy tomes slammed into a gargoyle's face. It stumbled back, wings flailing. What are you doing? Thea gasped. I do not know, Adrian shouted, but keep doing it. A second gargoyle lunged for Thea. Draven appeared between them, taking the impact on his shoulder. Stone claws scraped his suit and skin. Dark blood welled, and the sight of it made Thea's vision sharpen violently. Draven hissed. Move, bait. Thea's throat tightened. Do not call me that right now. Thea raised a hand again, not thinking, only feeling. The shadows under the desk swelled and curled, wrapping around the gargoyle's legs like living rope. The creature stumbled, trapped. Thea stared at the shadows, horrified and exhilarated. They responded to her like they had been waiting. Adrian grabbed her wrist. Library, now. They sprinted out of the office as the tower shook behind them. The silence ward swallowed the sound of stone breaking, but not the vibration. Thea felt it in her teeth. Down the spiral stairs they ran, ice bridge long gone, replaced by solid stone again like the tower had decided to mock them. The portraits watched as they passed, and Thea swore she saw Thorne's eyes in one portrait brighten, like he could see them through paint. They reached the library wing in a rush of cold air and whispering shelves. The corridor outside the restricted section was darker than the rest, shadows thick and almost alive. A door waited at the end, carved with symbols that made Thea's head ache to look at. Adrian held the bone key up. This is it. Thea reached for the lock, her hand hovered. She could feel the Academy listening again, hungry for her next mistake. Draven leaned close. Open it, he murmured, or go back to being a pretty prisoner. Thea shoved the key into the lock. The door opened with a sigh like a mouth opening in the dark. Cold poured out, biting her skin. Whispering rose, not words but voices layered over each other, as if every secret ever hidden in the Academy had been trapped in this air. Inside, the restricted section was not a room. It was a cathedral of shelves and chains. Candles burned blue. The shadows were thicker, older, and they moved with a slow intelligence. At the center stood a massive book, a black leather folio the size of a coffin lid, chained to a stone pedestal with iron links. The chains hummed with warding. The Book of Lineage, Adrian said, voice almost reverent. It does not lie, it only reveals what the world has tried to bury. Thea swallowed. Then it will hurt. Draven's gaze fixed on the book. Everything true hurts. Thea stepped to the pedestal. Her hands shook. She could still see the photo in her mind, her mother smiling beside Thorne. She could still feel the blood on Draven's shoulder. She lifted her finger and bit it. Pain flared. Blood welled. The shadows around the pedestal shifted, leaning in. Thea pressed her bleeding finger to the cover. The chains rattled once. Then, slowly, they loosened, as if recognizing her blood as permission. The book opened by itself. Pages flipped without wind, faster and faster, until the motion stopped on a blank spread. The paper looked old, thick, hungry. Letters began to form like ink seeping through skin. Thea's breath hitched. Her name appeared first, then a line beneath it. Father. The letters burned themselves into being. Valerius, the world, Ender. Thea froze, the room tilted. Her heart stopped, then restarted in a panic rhythm. No, she whispered. No, that is not real. Adrian stared at the name as if it was a wound. His glow flickered. Valerius, he whispered. That is impossible. Draven took one step back, eyes narrowed, face unreadable. World Ender. he repeated softly, tasting the title like poison. Thea pressed her palm to the page as if she could erase it by force. It is wrong. My mother would not. My father is nobody. Adrian swallowed hard. Valerius is not nobody, he said. He is the reason half our realm is broken. 20 years ago, he tore cities apart, cracked bloodlines, turned magic into ash. They trapped him between dimensions. It took every house, every oath, every sacrifice. Thea's vision blurred. Then why am I alive? Draven's voice went low. Because someone wanted a key with his blood. Thea shook her head violently. Stop! Stop saying it like that. The whispering in the room rose as if the restricted section enjoyed her fear, enjoyed watching her story break. Adrian reached for her shoulder. Thea, listen. This means someone will come for you. Houses will want you. Thorne will want you. Everyone will want to control you before you wake fully. Thea flinched away. Wake fully. A slow clap echoed from the doorway. Thea spun. Headmaster Thorne stood framed in the dark, hands moving in a calm, deliberate applause. His eyes were winter glass. His coat seemed to drink the candlelight. Beside him stood Seraphina, smiling like she had waited her whole life for this moment. Behind them, guards gathered, eyes glowing. Thorne's voice was soft. Finally! Thea's hands curled into fists. Shadows stirred at her feet, sensing her rage. What did you do to my mother? Thea demanded. Why is she in your office? Why do you have her photo? Thorne's smile did not reach his eyes. Your mother and I had history, he said. A romance if one likes to put pretty words on bargains. Seraphina laughed. She really thought she was special. Cute. Thea's throat burned. You lied. You said she sold me for a debt. Thorne stepped forward one slow pace. The room felt smaller with him inside it. I told you what would keep you obedient, he said. Fear is effective, but you are not here to be obedient, Thea. You are here to mature. Adrian stiffened. She is not your property. Thorne looked at Adrian as if noticing him for the first time. And you are doing your job. Thea turned sharply to Adrian. What did he mean? Adrian's eyes flicked away just a fraction. That fraction cut deeper than any blade. Seraphina leaned in, voice silky. He does not tell you because he likes the way you look at him when you believe in him. Thea's stomach dropped. Adrian? Adrian exhaled slowly, like confession was poison. Thea, he said, voice strained, my family is part of the council. They told me you would come. They told me to watch you, to keep you calm, to bring you to the book when the time was right. Thea felt something inside her go cold. Then it went hot. You knew, she whispered. You knew I was a weapon. Adrian reached toward her, eyes desperate. I did not know you, not until I met you, not until you looked at me like I was real. I tried to protect you. By lying to me, Thea said, voice shaking. By feeding me hope like sugar. Thorne's voice was calm, almost pleased. Enough emotion, delicious, but we are here for purpose. He lifted his hand toward the book of Lineage. Valerius is locked between realms. His prison responds only to blood. Yours, you are the key. You will open the way. Thea backed away from the pedestal. No, I will not. Seraphina's smile widened. You do not get to choose. Guard stepped forward. Draven moved first. He slammed into the nearest guard with brutal speed, shadows snapping around his arms like living chains. He grabbed a guard's throat and threw him into a shelf. Wood splintered. Books fell like screaming birds. Adrian hesitated, torn for a heartbeat between sides. That hesitation was all the proof Thea needed. Draven bared his teeth. "Pick, golden boy." Adrian's face twisted. "I do not want to hurt her." Draven's voice turned savage. "Then stop helping the man who will." Thorne lifted one finger. The air itself pressed down. Draven staggered as if hit by an invisible fist. His knees bent. His expression tightened, fury fighting pressure. Thea felt the pressure too, a hand around her lungs. She could barely breathe. Thorne's eyes locked on hers. "You feel it," he murmured. "The blood in you recognizing what it is made for." Thea tried to speak and could not. She tried to move and the pressure held her. Adrian stepped forward, hands raised, voice shaking. "Headmaster." "She is not stable. If you force her, she could break the section. She could break the academy." Thorne looked almost amused. "That is the point." Seraphina stepped toward Thea with a delicate, cruel grace. "Look at you," she whispered. "All that power and you still flinch like a human." Thea's vision narrowed to Seraphina's mouth, to the memory of acid ink burning her skin, to the crushed rose buds on her dress, to the smile that promised midnight blood. Something inside Thea snapped again, but this time it was not just fury. It was recognition. The shadows at her feet surged upward, curling around her ankles like lovers, like snakes, like wings before they existed. Thea inhaled, and the pressure around her lungs cracked. Her eyes went dark, darker than the night outside the windows, and the candles in the restricted section flickered. "Do not," Adrian whispered. "Thea, please." Thea turned her head slowly. Her voice came out low and wrong, layered with something ancient. "You all keep trying to drink me," she said. "You keep trying to own me." Thorne's expression sharpened. "Yes." Thea looked at Draven. Blood soaked his shoulder from the gargoyle claws dark against his black suit. He was still standing in front of her, even with Thorne pressing the air down on him. Draven met her gaze, jaw tight, and for the first time there was no mockery, only a harsh kind of loyalty. Thea's chest hurt. Then Adrian stepped closer, reaching for her, and Thea saw the lie in his gentleness. She lifted her hand and shoved. A wave of force slammed into Adrian and threw him backward into a shelf. Books burst into the air. The shield around him shattered and Ray formed weakly. Adrian stared at her, hurt and shocked. "Thea." Thea's voice shook now, human again, raw with pain. "Do not say my name like you deserve it." Thorne moved. He did not run. He simply crossed space like shadow crossing light. His hand lifted, fingers splayed, and the air around Thea tightened again. Thea screamed, and the scream was not sound alone. It was power. A shockwave exploded outward, ripping pages from books, snapping chains, slamming guards into walls. The restricted section shook. Thorne staggered one step, eyes narrowing. Seraphina shrieked and fell, her perfect hair flying wild. Draven grabbed Thea's wrist. "Now," he growled. "Run." Thea looked at the book of Lineage, still open on the pedestal, Valerius' name glowing like a curse. She looked at Thorne. She looked at Seraphina's hatred. She looked at Adrian's betrayal. Then she looked at Draven's bleeding shoulder. "I am not leaving you," Thea whispered. Draven's mouth twisted. "Stupid girl." "Yes," Thea said, "but I choose my stupid." Thorne lifted both hands. The air thickened again, like the tower trying to crush them. Thea reached for something she did not understand, something that had been whispering under her skin since the rain, since the portal, since Draven breathed in her scent and said ancient dust. She reached, reality tore. A thin line opened in the air beside the shelves, violet and black like the portal in the library back home, but sharper, more violent. It screamed without sound. Adrian shouted, "Thea, stop. You do not know what you are opening." Thea's teeth clenched. Neither did my mother. Draven pulled her toward the tier. Guards lunged. Shadows snapped at them like jaws. Thea felt her power flaring wild, breaking things, bending things, and she hated how easy it felt. A guard caught Draven's arm and drove a blade into his side. Draven grunted, face tightening, but he did not slow. He shoved the guard away with a burst of dark mist and dragged Thea through the tier. Cold and pressure slammed into them. Then they fell. They hit damp ground under a canopy of twisted trees. The air smelled like wet earth and something feral. The sky was still purple night, but the academy was gone, replaced by a forest that felt older than rules. Thea rolled, choking, then pushed herself up. Draven lay beside her, breathing hard, blood dark against his shirt now, not only from his shoulder but from his side. Thea crawled to him, hands shaking. "Draven." He laughed once, broken. "You said my name like you care. That is new." Thea pressed her hands over his wound, trying to stop blood with pressure and panic. "Do not die," she whispered. "Please, not after I chose you." Draven's eyes flicked to her face. "That is the most dangerous thing you have said yet." A howl rose in the distance. Thea froze. "They are coming." Draven swallowed, voice rough. "Wolves, guards, worse. This forest is not safe." Thea looked around wildly. Trees like claws, rocks like teeth. Darkness thick enough to swallow footsteps. "Move," Draven hissed, forcing himself up with a grimace. "There is a cave line near the ridge. I have hidden there before." Thea grabbed his arm and pulled it over her shoulders. His weight was heavy, solid, too real. The contact made her strangely calm and strangely frantic at the same time. They stumbled through undergrowth. Branches scratched Thea's bare shoulders. Her dress petals wilted and fell like black tears. Draven's breath came in harsh bursts against her neck. "You should have left me," he muttered. "I am tired of being left," Thea snapped. Another howl. Closer. Draven gripped her waist as they climbed a slope, his hand firm even through pain. The touch made Thea's skin burn. "Focus," he growled. "If they catch you, they drag you back. If they drag you back, Thorne finishes the ritual." Thea swallowed. "Ritual to open my father's prison." Draven's jaw tightened. "Yes." Thea's voice went small. "What if I open it by accident?" Draven looked at her, eyes fierce. "Then I kill you before you do." Thea flinched. Draven's expression softened by a fraction. "Or I die trying to stop you. Better." They found the cave as the forest began to whisper with movement. The entrance was low, hidden behind thorny vines. Draven shoved through first, pulling Thea after him. Inside, the cave was narrow but dry. Old soot marked the ceiling. Someone had been here before, maybe many someones. The air smelled of stone and old smoke and faint blood. Draven collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Thea crouched beside him. "Let me see," she whispered. He tried to swat her away. "You will faint." "I will not," Thea lied. Draven huffed a laugh. "You are terrible at it." Thea tore a strip from the ruined edge of her dress, ignoring the way the living petals seemed to protest. She pressed fabric to his side wound, hands slick with his blood. Thea's throat tightened. I do not know healing magic. Draven eyelids fluttered. Good, healing always costs. In this world it costs years. Thea swallowed. Then tell me how to stop bleeding. Draven looked at her, face pale in the dim cave light, eyes still sharp. Pressure, and do not cry, your tears smell like surrender. Thea forced her eyes dry. I am not surrendering. Draven's gaze traveled over her face. You are shaking. Thea tried to steady her hands. You are bleeding. Outside, footsteps rustled near the vines, sniffing. A low growl. Thea held her breath. Draven did not move. He only lifted a finger to his lips, then closed his eyes and let shadows thicken around them. The cave dimmed further, as if darkness poured in like water and settled over their skin. The sniffing passed. Thea exhaled slowly, the relief making her dizzy. She leaned back against the cold stone and stared at Draven. In the dim, his lashes looked too long, his mouth too sharp. He should have been only a threat. Instead, he was the only one who had not pretended to be kind while holding a chain behind his back. You called me bait, Thea whispered. Why did you help me? Draven's mouth twitched. Because you were going to die, and I hate losing entertainment. Thea stared. After a beat, his voice went quieter. And because you smelled like something I have been afraid of my whole life. Thea's chest tightened. Afraid. Draven opened his eyes, gaze fixed on her like a confession. Valyria's blood does not just destroy cities, it destroys people. It turns love into obsession. It turns desire into hunger. I have seen it, I survived it. That is why I am cursed. Thea swallowed. Your curse is from him. Draven nodded once, jaw tight. A mark, a chain, a reminder. I have spent years trying to cut it off. Thea looked down at her blood-stained hands. And now I am his daughter. Silence thickened between them, heavy and intimate. Thea's voice broke. Adrian looked at me like I was safe, like I was someone he could save, and it was all a job. Draven's gaze softened in a way that almost scared her more than cruelty. Pretty lies are still lies. Thea wiped her hands on the torn fabric. And my mother. She pushed me through the portal. She said, forgive me, and there is a photo of her smiling with Thorne. Draven's breath hitched, pain or anger. She is not what you thought. Thea's eyes burned. Neither am I, Draven shifted, grimacing, and Thea leaned forward instinctively, pressing him back gently against the wall so he would not reopen the wound. Her hand landed on his chest. His heartbeat was strong, fast, human enough to make her ache. Draven looked down at her hand, then back up. Careful, Thea swallowed. I made a deal. Draven's mouth curved barely. You remember. Thea's breath shook. You said if we survive. Draven lifted his hand, fingers brushing her wrist, slow and deliberate. The touch was warm, grounding. We survived, he murmured. For now. Thea leaned in before she could think herself out of it. Her lips met his. It was not gentle. It was not sweet. It was heat and pain and relief pressed into one moment, a kiss that tasted faintly of blood and smoke and something dangerously honest. Draven made a low sound in his throat, half surprise, half hunger, and his hand slid up to the back of her neck, holding her there like he had been waiting for permission to stop pretending. Thea pulled back first, breath ragged, forehead resting briefly against his. I do not know what I am doing, she whispered. Draven's voice was rough. Good. If you knew, it would be a lie. A cold tremor ran through the cave, not from wind, but from something deeper, like the world shifting. Thea's skin prickled. She turned her head and saw a symbol carved into the cave wall, half hidden under soot. A circle with jagged lines, a mark like a trap. Thea stared. What is that? Draven's expression tightened. Hunters, Thea swallowed. The creatures in the library, the ones chasing us. Draven nodded once. They cross realms, they hunt bloodlines. If they are here, it means the forest has been watched for a long time. Thea's stomach dropped. So even outside the academy, I am not free. Draven looked at her steadily. No, you are just in a different cage. Thea pressed her palm to the cave wall, over the hunter mark, and felt the stone cold under her skin. Her power stirred faintly, shadows curling at her feet restless. My father is locked between dimensions, she whispered, and Thorne wants me to open him. Draven's voice stayed low, controlled. Yes. Thea's eyes burned. If I do not, Thorne comes for me. If I do, I risk unleashing the world ender. Draven watched her, and there is a third problem. Thea looked at him. My mother. Draven's mouth tightened. Yes. Thea's throat ached. She thought of rain and running and her mother's hands on her shoulders. She thought of the photo, the smile, the secret. I need the truth, Thea said. Draven nodded slowly. Then you need Valerius, not to free him, to understand what you are, to learn what your blood can do.